All right, free radicals of all shapes, sizes, colors, denominations, orientations, educations. Welcome back to the Radical Independent. My name is Dave. I am that guy, although you may be that guy or that woman if you are watching this channel. I appreciate all the subscribers, all the well wishes, and even those dedicated folks who have decided to donate to this channel, either by becoming a patron or by going over to PayPal. And that is extremely important, because without that, I can't afford to keep doing this. I'm just being quite honest. So, remember a while back when the New York Times asked that prescient question, what exactly is Tulsi Gabbard up to? And of course, they answered it from their own neoliberal, Russian conspiracy, supposed Assad-loving perspective that they want to interject. They want to believe that Tulsi Gabbard is somehow going to be a spoiler, that she will run third party, or so all the speculation that they are doing, or that they did in the article, basically leads the average New York Times neoliberal type person drinking their $4 Starbucks coffee. They're thinking to themselves, well, Tulsi Gabbard is not a real Democrat. She doesn't seem to like the Democratic Party. This is something, by the way, that emerged a little bit more after the last debate, where she had the gall to criticize her own party, in which a lot of people from even within the Democratic Party, who are dedicated Democrats, they're like, yeah, there are a lot of problems. And Tulsi Gabbard is trying to point those problems out. So her goal, I think on the surface, and you're going to follow me here because I'm going to go somewhere where I haven't gone before, her goal on the surface is to try to reform the party, to try to say, this party is not the party of war. This party is not the party of big corporations. It's not the party of big banks. It's not the party of big oil or big pharma, even though if you really truly look at all the donations, the corporate donations that are coming through to these other candidates, you have to say to yourself, well, it doesn't look like the Democratic Party is the party of the little guy. And if you've read the book Listen Liberal by Thomas Frank, which I read, based on what Jimmy Dore says about it, my friend Kelly, and it was an eye-opening experience about how the Democratic Party is not the party of the little guy anymore. And anybody who thinks it just is in a time warp somewhere. So, with all of the stuff that I've just recently posted, now I've done a couple of videos that weren't very well received because I am frustrated because the system, there's very little possibility that Bernie and or Tulsi are going to be the nominee. And if they become the nominee, there's a possibility that they will be sabotaged, and that behind the scenes, people are going to say, you know what, we can't publicly say we like Donald Trump, but guess what we're going to do? We're going to work behind the scenes to sabotage this candidate, and then we'll come back in 4 years. Trump will have 2 terms, and by then people will be really tired of Trump, and then we can elect a Democrat that, is more up and coming, rather than just some Democrat like Mike Bloomberg with a ton of cash, or like Joe Biden, who has all this name ID, but who has no plans to really change anything. I think Tulsi Gabbard, and this is where I'm going to go somewhere here, Tulsi Gabbard is in this not to help the Democratic Party. She's not long-term. This is my long-term idea about Tulsi Gabbard. Now, she could have stayed in Congress. People do this all the time. They run for president. It would be tough to fundraise, but by July at the convention, you kind of know that you're not going to be the nominee. and, the election is in November, so you've got time to get back to your district. Tulsi Gabbard, I think, has already reached a principled decision about the Democratic Party. What she's going to do is she's going to play it out, much like a game where you're down by 3 touchdowns and you've got a shot. And again, I'm using a football analogy. You can use whatever sport or team you want. But she's banking on that at halftime, she can regroup some more. By the third quarter, she can put some more points on the board, and maybe she'll be in the game toward the end of the game. Now, she might not be, but that's not the point of any of this. This is to play the full game to the best of your ability with the rules that are written. Because at that point, if you lose the game, or if you don't win the nomination, you can look back and you can basically document all of the corruption, all of the things that are wrong with the DNC. And then you can say, we've seen this for 2 election cycles now. The people need to be more concerned about the process than they should be about who the nominee is. And this is my point. The nominee is going to be, again, another figurehead that they appoint rather than a person like Tulsi who could really shake the establishment up and do some things that are, Kennedy-esque. We'll say that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but here's where I see this going. After this whole thing is over, Tulsi's not running for Congress. Tulsi Gabbard is not relatable to many in the Democratic establishment. She knows this. But she also knows that there are people, both on the left and on the right, and those who are apolitical, who want a new system, who want something different. And I don't think she's going to go green, although there are people within the Green Party that would love to have her. I don't think she's going to go libertarian, because I don't think her economic policies are going to be reconcilable with the libertarians' sort of free market, laissez-faire, whatever you want to call it, economic principles and policies. I don't think that'll happen. So, she's going, I think, to start something completely different when she's all done with this. Now, if she wins, then she doesn't have to do that. She can pull the Democratic Party to where it ought to be. But if she doesn't, I think she sets herself up for 2024 and for something completely new and different, and she has 4 years to build that movement. And yes, do I think she could do it? Absolutely, 100%. She needs to build an infrastructure much like Bernie Sanders has now. And by the way, that's why a lot of people were a little ticked off at Bernie in 2016, because, okay, you did your duty, you played your game there with Hillary. After that was over, you should have said, look, there's something wrong with this party. And I'm an independent. I have been, right, for most of his political career. Bernie Sanders has been an independent. All right, it's time to start a real independent party movement. And I don't know what you call it. I have no idea what you call it. There are things out there, movement for a people's party. That's one idea. Like I said, with the Green Party, there are a lot of principles there that work. But I believe that there has to be branding and a makeover of some kind that takes place there. You can't just court the fringiest people out there. Because as much as I'm okay with the fringe, you have to be able to appeal to people who don't understand your sort of constant focus on the fringe. And they're going to feel alienated or feel weirded out. In other words, you have to appeal to ordinary Americans. And they'll tell you that they are. And maybe they are. But the point being is that I believe Tulsi Gabbard is going to start something completely new. And we need something completely new. And we need it to incorporate the best of everything. A solutions party, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not about party, though. It's about people. And people coming together to form a coalition of some kind. And if you can brand it, if you can name it, I think that is important in today's world where branding and name ID is so important. But you had Tulsi in 2020 rattling the cages within the Democratic establishment. She rattled, she did as much as she could. And this is a hypothetical now. And she comes back immediately and she says, you know what? We got 4 more years of whatever. Say if Trump wins again. And by the way, there's a real good chance that Donald Trump could win again. Anybody who thinks that Trump is so beatable and this is like low-hanging fruit, it could be low-hanging fruit if you put Tulsi Gabbard or Bernie Sanders up as your nominee. And then you run on issues and you just don't even listen to Trump when he's making up the nicknames that he's going to call you. Don't even listen. Just say, look, this is Donald Trump. This is what he does. It's his style. I'm more in tune with the people. I want to talk to voters about what we can do as a country to truly make their lives better. And, focus on the stuff that Trump has failed at. The endless war stuff, Trump is a failure at, number one. Number two, the economy, even though it's doing well, not everybody has benefited from the prosperity. And again, you could hammer these themes home. You can talk about student loan debt. You can talk about these big ticket kitchen table issues, and you can really mean it. So there are ways right now to defeat Donald Trump. But my guess is Tulsi decided to go in as a Democrat. She was already at a disadvantage within the party establishment because of what she did in 2016. So now she's going to follow this through as basically an object lesson. This is what she is doing right now, at the very least, is a teachable moment for the country. To say, okay, here I am, a veteran, okay, a 2-tour combat veteran, all right, who constantly is getting smeared because I want to talk to foreign leaders like Assad to find out what is going on for myself. A fact-finding mission. People in Congress used to do it all the time. I want to find out what's happening over there myself. Meeting with Trump, saying, what is your agenda? I want to see if, we can cooperate on some things. But then, as Tulsi Gabbard's not making, multiple trips to Trump Tower or the White House. She's not. She heard what she needed to hear. She went back and she said, okay, we've got to work together to get things done. And obviously Trump and her don't see eye to eye on a whole bunch of issues. So anyone who thinks they do, by the way, who's trying to just link, that's why all the Trump people like Tulsi, they just don't understand. They don't understand. Tulsi respects everybody. So that's why some people on the right are listening, because she doesn't sound like a lunatic, like I've said many times. She doesn't talk like Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren. She's not the school marm. She's not trying to talk down to you. She's trying to talk at your level. She listens to everybody, even if she disagrees, and she sees your point. She doesn't cancel you if she disagrees. Even in her goodbye to Kamala Harris yesterday, there were people who follow me and I follow them who are saying she would have been way better off just to be silent. Why did she say this? Because it's Tulsi Gabbard. What did you expect her? This is aloha. This is, look, I wish you well. It was a troll, too, on top of it. When you look at what she did, it was trolling like, hey, you did such a good job. Thanks for playing. Thanks for being a part of our game show. Because that's what this is, kind of. As Tulsi has said, it's kind of like reality TV. So she was thanking Kamala, And, other than getting the parting gifts from the, the game show itself, she wished her well. Said, thanks for playing the home game. See you later. And that's all it was. But you had all these people, oh, why did Tulsi have to... It's the same thing when she said, I don't think Joe Biden is an evil guy. Okay? He may be foolish. He may be having difficulty forming sentences these days. He's been a pawn in the political world forever. He's been a greased palm backslapper for generations. It's kind of like politics as usual and so forth. But she was thinking, hey, I'm not going to throw Biden under the bus for positions he had or people he worked with in the 1970s. And this is the kind of cancel culture that really mostly happens on the left. I don't see people on the right doing it. So the premise of all this, or the theme to this long video that I'm doing here, is Tulsi's got future plans. Whether this works out or not, she's not going away. I think she could start a real, honest-to-goodness, third wave movement. Ross Perot did it in one election cycle. It was called the Reform Party. That name is still out there. I think Tulsi Gabbard would be perfect as the de facto leader of the Reform Party. I know it exists still in some states. But obviously, if you look at what Ross Perot wanted to do for the country and how he looked at government waste and how he looked at some of the things that we're doing, I mean, it's different, but yet it combined elements of both the left and the right, and it was all about solutions. It was all about actually addressing the problems, working together to fix the problems. You could certainly call it the Solutions Party. I do like, the People's Party or Party for the People, whatever you want to call it. Those are all things that you could look at. But my guess is if this nomination doesn't come to pass, that Tulsi Gabbard can look at it all and say, you know what, I'm out of the Democratic Party because like so many people, the walk-away movement, whatever it is out there, the party doesn't advocate on behalf of the little guy anymore. And it's easy to walk away from the Democratic Party because they're not doing anything other than stoking all of these wedge battles that we're having with each other to keep us kind of like off the topic. Hey, let's talk about this wedge issue some more. It's like, again, I always cite Tulsi's position on abortion. Okay, you want an abortion? Get one. Third trimester? Probably not a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. And, it's a common sense sort of middle ground solution. But there are obviously zealots on both sides that want to just fight, and don't want to agree, don't want to even concede a little bit. And again, by the way, if the country is if they're going to head in the direction where people aren't listening to each other anymore, which is kind of what's happening, then we're on the brink of something else. And I don't want to be here if that happens. I'm afraid for my kids and my family and so forth. I wouldn't want to be part of that. I think we should figure this out before it gets to that point because it's heading there quickly. It's going in that direction very quickly. So that's my hunch that Tulsi Gabbard has something up her sleeve. It doesn't mean that if she doesn't get the nomination this time around, she's not going to start anything this time around. And you'll say, well, it'll be too late. The country will be toast. It won't be toast. It won't be toast. You have to work locally. You have to work in your state. You have to work in your congressional district and your local town government, whatever it is. Like I tell people, get involved locally, and that will make the most impact in your life. Presidency, yeah, it's important. But again, we're so concerned about who's at the top that we're not worried about who's right next to you, where you live, who you can influence, and who you can have sane conversations with. You can talk to these people directly and say, hey, I think this is a stupid idea to put the school bus stop over here because that will affect your life. That will affect your kids. If you don't like what they're doing in your town, go to a town meeting. Go and get involved. Seriously. But as far as this national horse race thing goes, I think Tulsi has got some bigger plans down the road, and I think she would be the perfect leader. She's got incredible leadership skills. She's got incredible communication skills, and I think she can bring people together from all factions. The problem about running as a Democrat, too, or a Republican for that matter, is that people automatically just say, okay, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat. I know what you're all about. I don't like you, and I'm not voting for you. But if you come in as an independent, somebody who's not affiliated, somebody with a new moniker, new name for what you're representing, and that's crucial to pick out something that doesn't offend everybody in the world, or doesn't brand you as a freak or a fringe or a lunatic. You come in that way, and more people are going to listen. People who've never participated in politics, and that number is growing. It's just, after the last election cycle, people are just, wiping their hands and saying, I don't want to be a part of this. Not me. You guys, it's a train wreck. Either side is nuts. They see this on television and they go, I just want to live my life and hang out with my family and worry about our world here. And that's what I would tell you. If this doesn't work out the way you want it to, make sure you're busy about taking care of business locally. And I know, it's depressing. It's depressing because we all want it to happen now. We all know that Tulsi Gabbard is the best candidate running. A lot of progressives have thrown her under the bus. A lot of the neoliberals, have hated her and write these horrible things about her that just, you're looking at Tulsi and you're saying, this is the opposite of who this woman is. And just because she kneecapped a couple of, Tim Ryan's gone. I'm hoping Mayor Pete will take a hit. But apparently he withstood Tulsi the last debate. But between Mayor Pete and Kamala and, Tim Ryan, it's just, she's on point. She's on message. And she will steamroll you if you get in her way. And it's kind of fun to watch. So maybe she can do more damage to the establishment narrative before the end of this. That would be at the very least. And that's why I'm supporting her right through the convention, because you need her voice up there. You need her to speak. Will she get a speaking part at the convention? Who knows? I'm hoping that she does, but if I'm the establishment, I'm probably going to try to stop that, just like everything else. All right, I'm done with this video. Again, don't forget to support me on Patreon, PayPal. I really need this support because this is what I do. I run 3 channels right now, and it is work. I end up doing many hours of work per day doing this, and then when something else happens, sometimes I gotta turn the camera on and do some more work. So, yeah, it's good I get to work from home and so forth, but I'll tell you what, it's important that we have independent media. And by the way, that's why I'm on Rockfin as well. So you can check me out over there with unique content that's different from the stuff you see here on YouTube. Okay, I'm done. Like I say, see you soon.